Hello! That was me trying to give a witchy hello or a wolfy hello, because happy Halloween! My favorite time of the year, where we dip down into the underworld, where the veil is thinner and we can spook the feck out of ourselves and be as weird and wonderful as we like. I'm so excited for this episode. I cannot wait for you to hear it all, because the more research I did, the more ideas sparked, and it just got me overly excited. This is so interesting. I love. But firstly, and most importantly, for this year's Halloween episode, I've had a deep desire to dedicate this one to our dear ancestors. I feel that we're being called upon by our ancestors to heal our lineage, to change those repeating patterns that don't serve us any longer, to release that suppressed pain and suffering that they didn't get a chance to heal, to stand up for our rights, and to change the way the world is running. So whatever way you're called to do that, go out and do it, because every person has an ability to contribute in some way or another while protecting themselves. Be careful now, while protecting themselves, to make a contribution. So this episode, of course, is also dedicated to all of the wonderful witches out there, the earth medicine people, the earth carers, past, present, and future, and throughout all timelines. But on a more very important note, I would like to dedicate this episode, and I don't actually mention this enough, I'd like to especially dedicate this episode to sending profound healing and love to those out there who are suffering now from war all around the world. The wars that we see and the wars we don't see. The obvious external wars and the internal wars we might have within ourselves. This episode is for you. Let's take a minute's silence and imagine powerful love coming out of our hearts and enveloping the world, the whole globe. Just imagine we have the globe, Gaia, in our hands, and the love coming out of our hearts. The warm, healing love coming out of our hearts is just enveloping the world, completely covering it. Just so we make sure we've covered everyone. So we're sending love and healing. We all have the power to do this. It's all about intention. When I was doing research on witches, I wanted to research witches in Ireland, of course, my home, and Celtic witches especially. And I found a really interesting article by the Centre of Excellence about exploring the mysteries of Celtic witchcraft. So the Centre of Excellence is a website I highly recommend exploring. And the website, I'm just going to quote what they say. It says that Celtic witchcraft traditions, or the Celts, viewed the earth as a living entity with its own rhythms and energies. Each season was seen as a manifestation of the divine, and these shifts were marked by festivals and rituals that celebrated the changing face of the land. So like spring, flowers, summer, or flowers, winter, autumn, the leaves fall. Winter, it's all the changes. So Imbolc, Beltane, Lug, Nasa, and Samhain are the 4 major Celtic festivals that align with the solstices and equinoxes. Not only did these festivals mark the agricultural cycle, but they also provide opportunities to engage with the spiritual forces that governed life. So these are Celtic festivals. For example, Imbolc represented the awakening of the land after winter and was associated with the goddess Bridget, while Samhain marked the thinning of the veil between the physical and spirit realms and was the inspiration for modern-day Halloween celebrations. Celtic witchcraft is based on the pagan beliefs of the Celtic tribes in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and other parts of pre-Christian Europe. These ancient Celts, or Celts, were deeply connected to the natural world. They prayed to many gods and believed that things like the wind, trees, and mountains had divine spirits. It's kind of a similar beliefs to shamanism. I'll leave the link in the show notes and the article link attached to my article. So if you're on my website and you're reading this, you'll see the link. I came across some dark stories and also some bright stories. And I thought to myself, I don't know, maybe I'll just stick with the brighter witch stories. But then I caught myself out straight away and I was like, no, we need to embrace both the light and the dark stories. Just like Halloween is dark. Of course, we need to include the dark stories. And just like we should acknowledge our light and shadow selves, that part of us that we don't want to look at, that shadow part of us that we don't want to acknowledge or maybe can't see, because some of us can't see our shadow selves. Because when we bring the dark side of ourselves to the surface, to the light, and acknowledge the parts of us that are shadowy, we get a deeper understanding. And that in itself is a healing. So, just like talking about the dark side of the witches, we might find out a deeper reason for why they turned to the dark side. This is literally just reminding me of a series called Mindhunter. Have you ever seen it? Oh, if anyone has ever seen it, it's about, or if anyone hasn't ever seen it, it's about an investigation on the minds of serial killers, where they investigate why and how these serial killers ended up being serial killers. It's so interesting and it gives a massive understanding. And it's really sad, actually. I highly recommend watching that. So let me read you some wonderful stories about witches. The first one is, well, actually, both of these stories are from shamrockgift.com. It's a website. And these 2 stories are of witches of Irish history who had one thing in common. They were women who refused to conform. And that's a quote by the Irish Times. I love that quote. So empowering. So let me tell you about Alice KYTELER. I hope I'm saying that right. Alice KYTELER, there's actually the KYTELER Inn in Kilkenny in Ireland, that has a statue of Alice KYTELER, and it's a popular tourist attraction in Kilkenny. So Alice was born in County Kilkenny in 1263 to a family of wealthy Flemish merchants. Alice KYTELER has been remembered in history as the first person to be condemned for witchcraft in Ireland. She is referenced in the W.B. Yeats poem 919. I'll read the part of the poem that she's referenced in. But now the wind drops, dust settles, there upon there lurches past, his great eyes, without thought, under the shadow of stupid straw pale locks. That insolent fiend, Robert Artisan, to whom the love-lorn Lady KYTELER brought bronzed peacock feathers, red combs of her cocks. So that's the quote from the poem. You can see it in my show notes. Actually, you can see it in the article that I have written on my website. You can read it there if it's a little bit difficult to understand. You know the way like old poems can be tricky, but I recommend having a look. So I'll continue. So who was Robert and why did Alice honour him so? Well, we are talking in terms of witches, so the answer was never going to be a virtuous one. According to Alice's house servant, Petronella de Meath, Robert was the name of the demon Alice made offerings to in order to gain her arcane powers, a right hand of Satan himself, who often appeared as three distinct and imp-like men. Petronella testified against Alice in court, and she was accused of heresy, sacrifices to and intercourse with demonic entities, making love and hate potions to corrupt Christians, and the murder of her previous husbands, of which there were 4, all dead. However, the servant woman's testimonies against her mistress stacked the cards against both of them in the end. It became a popular belief that Petronella assisted Alice in her crimes, and Petronella was burnt at the stake, becoming the very first person in Ireland to suffer this brutal fate. Alice KYTELER was neither burned nor buried on Irish soil, and the story goes that she fled to the safety of England. But this take is a little more than an educated guess. After the death of Petronella, Alice disappears entirely from historical records. What we do know, however, is that she seems to have taken with her a ward in the form of Petronella's young daughter, Basilia. So there you go. There's a dark witch. So let me tell you a lovely, nice witch story. Biddy Early. So Biddy Early was from County Clare in Ireland, and in County Clare you can still see the ruins of the cottage of Biddy Early's cottage in County Clare. So not all alleged Irish witches were the kind to consort with Satan's helpers and lay hexes on those who did them wrong. The renowned Biddy Early, for example, is best understood as a kind of white witch or folk healer, beloved by many for her charming personality and clever way with natural remedies. Born around 1798, Biddy was known to be heard talking to the fairies during her early years, and was kind and full of wit, as she was stubborn. Her mother Ellen was a renowned herbalist and taught her daughter all that she knew. Biddy was an unusual woman by many counts, and, as such, was a prime target for witchcraft accusations by the Catholic Church, who disliked her unorthodox streak. She married 3 times, and in an unorthodox twist, her final husband was much younger than she. She traded natural cures for whiskey with her neighbours, then invited everyone over to drink and play cards. She trekked out to farms to help restore spring wells and treat dying crops. Her immense popularity was, to the church, a threat, like most witches were, but it was also her safeguard. In 1865, at the age of 67, she was accused of witchcraft and was brought before a court in Ennis, County Wexford. Hold on a minute. Is there an Ennis in Wexford, or is this Clare? That might be a typo. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It says here, Ennis County, Wexford. The small number of people who agreed to testify against her soon dropped their charges, and her many friends in the community rallied to support her. Before long, the case was dropped due to the lack of sufficient evidence, and as she had her whole life long, Biddy early walked free. She died peacefully 9 years later. So that's a nice story of a witch from the light. It's sad. It is sad, because a lot of medicine women did suffer. And at that time, when the Catholic Church took over and obviously felt threatened by people connecting to their inner wisdom and their inner power and developing their natural abilities, which is way more powerful than anything outside of ourselves. And this is a call. I really do believe that this is a call and a reminder of us to tap into our own natural empowerment, our sovereignty, and our inner strength. Because when we work on those parts and we remember the gifts that we have, there's nothing outside of us that can invoke fear, anger. Well, we're humans at the end of the day, and we have emotions, and that's just the natural part of being a human. But we have so much more empowerment when we really go inwards and find those natural abilities to connect with our inner wisdom and to rely on ourselves about making decisions, to work on our energy centers, to release all of that societal ingrained indoctrination, any kind of traumas or sufferings that we or ancestors had that have been suppressed. We now have the opportunity to release them and let them go. And I really do think that I know that when we work on ourselves and we really, really find that empowerment and sovereignty, we just become untouchable nearly, because we follow our own path and we don't allow the external world to control us at the end of the day. It's about not allowing the outside world to brainwash us, to fill us with news that isn't for our highest good, to invoke guilt, to make us do things, fear and anger. When we work on ourselves and we develop our empowerment, none of that is allowed in anymore. We actually choose to not watch certain things. It's just immensely transformational. So now let me tell you about the most exciting part for me. Let me tell you about a very special being in my life called Salem. And if you don't already know, or you haven't heard me talking about her yet, Salem is my gorgeous black cat. She is the light of our lives. Let me first tell you about what Salem means. The word Salem means peaceful, safe, complete and perfect. If you look it up, you'll find that. And when Salem became available, so I'll tell you the story. Salem is a black cat, and through a friend of a friend, my friend's friend was looking for a home for her because he wanted a stable home for her, because he had been moving quite a lot, and you know the way cats kind of need to feel like they're in one place. It's kind of traumatic if you're moving them around all the time. So when my friend put it in the group, I literally jumped in straight away. Now, what sparked off my love for black cats was my friend at home in Ireland has a little black cat called Kiki, and she's gorgeous. And I remember when she was a kitten, and she's gorgeous black cat, beautiful eyes, so playful. And I just connected with her really deeply. And from then on, I was like, I need a black cat. I need a black cat. A black one is very important. Now, another thing I must highlight is that my spirit animal is black jaguar, which I was told a long time ago about through a friend's mom, who's a shaman, and she helped me connect with my spirit animal. So it's not unusual that I was attracted to a black cat. Anyway, let me tell you what happened next. So the cat became available and I jumped on the bandwagon like completely. And my boyfriend Andes was away at the time. He was at a concert. And I was like, oh my God, can we get a black cat? Then my friend has this cat. She needs a home. And can we get one? And he was like, what? And I got this overwhelming desire to have this cat. Like, it was a little bit irrational. I was like, we have to have her. Like, we need, I've never had such a strong desire to have this cat. And then this is like, oh, I don't know. He was a bit apprehensive, he had never had a pet before. And he was like, I don't know. And this probably isn't the right time to ask me either when I'm at a concert. And I was just, I actually felt a little bit upset that, he wasn't really saying yes straight away. And I was like, I need this cat in my life. And at the time, we had been having conflict. We had conflict with the previous house owners. We're having conflict with our neighbours. War was just showing up on our doorstep. Let's just say, I was trying to transmute it all and, heal as much as I could and transmute the energy. And then Salem appeared, which means peaceful, safe, complete and perfect. And I was like, this is what we need. We need her. We need her now. And so they finally gave in. We actually made a deal because we were changing the doors of our house at the time. And he said, we get the cat, I can choose the doors for the house. And I was like, deal done. And he was like, fuck. I don't think he thought that I would say yes to that. But I was like, anything. Like, you can just make the decisions of the house for the rest of our lives. We need this cat. So Salem appeared in our lives. And we both fell in love with her. Like, she's just gorgeous. She's just the most social, like playful. She's just everything. And much, much more than we expected. And then I was doing some research on black cats. And I was thinking, because, you think that we are her guardians, her protectors. But, would you believe, black cats are actually spiritual guardians and protectors. And at the end of the day, Salem's protecting us. And if you look on the internet about the spiritual connection between black cats, it says that black cats are thought to be protectors and spiritual guardians due to their connection to goddesses in mythology and folklore. And some people view black cats as bad luck and connected to witchcraft. But this belief must have been sparked by the Catholic Church, because I get nothing but protection from Salem. And isn't it funny that her name is Salem? I just think that's just synchronicity at its best. Which brings me to the Salem witch trials. I'm sure you all know, well, maybe you don't know, that the Salem witch trials were a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February 1962 and May 1693. More than 200 people were accused. 30 people were found guilty, 19 of whom were executed by hanging, not only women but also men. And one other man died due to torture after refusing to enter a plea. And yes, very brutal. So there you go. So what I'd like to ask all of you who are listening, any of you, if even, those who have your ears open, or those who are called to listen to this episode, I would absolutely, highly and utterly recommend that you explore your natural abilities, your natural healing abilities, because you have them. We are all healers. We just need to know how to work it. You can click into my YouTube channel and find any of the guided mindfulness meditations that will help you learn those tools to connect to your own healing power. I highly suggest that you start to find your inner wisdom within yourself. So, for example, if you don't know what to do regarding a situation, write it down. Write a specific question down. What should I do regarding a promotion at work, or the house to buy, or, an agreement to sign? Any kind of question that you're unsure about what to do, write it down. And set an intention that the answer will come to you clearly and effortlessly. And just wait for, it might not come right there and then, but the answer will come and you will be given a sign. And that's you connecting to your inner wisdom. So, another way to connect to our wonderful, witchy, natural abilities is finding the healing power of foods and cleaning our energy centers, working on our energy body, like I keep going on about, and using music as a healing tool, journaling to, release any emotions or spark ideas, any creative ideas, or just connecting to your heart. Connecting to our hearts is such a wonderful, healing, medicine-y, earthy, lovely thing to do. And it really builds our personal power. Thank you so much for listening. If any of you feel like you'd like to explore how to go along these lines, feel free to reach out and we can have a free consultation and we can see where it goes from there. I hope you have a wonderful and absolutely spooky Halloween, whatever you do, whether it's self-care time or dressing up and spooking the crap out of anyone, or playing with children, going trick-or-treating. Whatever you do, just let yourself be unapologetically you in your wonderful and gorgeously weird, wonderful way. Sending big, big love to all of you out there who are listening, and take care. Bye bye.